Welcome back, everyone. I hope everybody had a great holiday season. We're going to kick things off in 2021 with another VKS Paperless Conversation. My name is Kalina. I will be your host. And every month we are going to be discussing hot topics in the manufacturing industry. So I would like to introduce today's hot topic, which will be why you should go digital. I know that's a hot topic right now on a lot of people's minds, whether you're just rolling out, you're not sure where to start. So let's start today. I've invited my fellow coworker. His name is Spero Zervos. He is our customer success manager out of New York, and he will be helping me with today's topic. So thank you so much, everyone, and let's get things started. So welcome, Spiro. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much for having me.
So I thought before we kind of dive into today's hot topic, you could maybe spend a little bit of time just giving us a little bit of background about yourself. You know, what you do for VKS, where you started, and maybe a fun little tidbit about yourself as well.
A fun little tidbit, just like I like to do on my webinars, which is a lot of fun.
Exactly. And you might notice, not to cut you off, you might notice Spiro's voice because of the fact that he is our webinar host on most of our webinars that we do. So the voice will carry from that domain into this one.
Absolutely. It'll carry all the time. All the time.
Perfect. So yeah, sorry, please continue. Yes.
Hello and welcome. My name is Spiro, customer success manager here at VKS. I do a whole bunch of different stuff, from helping customers implement VKS and solutions, from training and support, from questions and answers, even presentations on just standard views of VKS and what we do in general. I do a whole little bit of everything. Done a lot of different things in what I like to call my past life. So I was in the U.S. Army for a while, about 8 years. I was a Black Hawk crew chief and door gunner, been overseas a few times, been to Korea, been to Afghanistan, been to a few different places. I've been to college, university, if you will. And then I've also been in the manufacturing world, of course, which is where we're kind of getting to here. And the manufacturing world of doing different things there. I've been a technical writer for creating documentation and instructions. I've been a bit of a quality inspector and create quality checklists and control plans for different items. I have been an assembler and a masker and done different things down on the shop floor. I have been a process auditor, not for like ISO or anything, but for like internal business processing. And then, of course, among other things, and then we move into VKS, which now I'm in the customer success and field of things there, along with the other implementation and other things we do with the customers. So a little bit of everything, which is what I like to do. I don't like to stick in one thing. I like to just do a little bit of everything.
Well, first off, I'd like to thank you for your service, first of all. And secondly, I think you play a very important role at the company for the fact that you have worked in other areas of manufacturing. And now that you work with customers, you really know the ins and outs and some of the trends and some of the pain points, I should say, that a lot of customers face when it comes to just starting to go digital. So I think you are going to be an excellent co-host on today's topic. So thank you very much, and I look forward to picking your brain. Are we ready?
Thank you very much, and I'm ready when you are.
All right, perfect. So like I had mentioned, we are going to talk today about why to go digital. I know that our last episode kind of covered a little bit about COVID and some of the ways in which companies are now starting to find new equipment and new ways to manage their staff to be compliant with the regulations. So today we're going to kind of go a little bit on a different path and really stop and think about if you've ever thought about going digital, if you've ever thought about just starting to automate your facility and your practices, where to start. So I thought you could maybe spend a little bit of time, Spiro, really kind of walking us through, I guess, the plan that a company would take in order to kind of put those steps forward.
Yeah, absolutely. We could definitely do that. First and foremost, and I've been around, I actually have done a lot of on-site visits for customers and potential customers all around the world, actually, which is a lot of fun. It's one of the cool perks about where we work is
yeah, for sure.
we get to do a bit of traveling and stuff like that. So see a lot of different types of manufacturing or different types of businesses and get to visit them and help implement different things. And a lot of people have very common things, common issues, and there's a few different ones. One is your documentation, right?
Mm-hmm.
And with your documentation, and this is all part of just identifying what you want to make better is one of the big things. You really at the beginning have to identify, where are my pain points? What do I want to make better? And how can I improve it? And what's my best solution to improve it? Because there's always a better way to do things.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we always like to try to say as well, is you may have something in place, but is there a better way? Is there something you can improve on? Can you continue to improve on your process, which you should do? So we go into these different facilities, these different organizations, and we see some common stuff. We see a documentation that is in place most of the time. Sometimes we see no documentation and we're like, hey, you've got to have something.
What's going on?
Other than drawings.
Exactly.
What's going on? I went into a place, it was a military place one time, and they had drawings and that was it. And I was like, holy cow, you need to do something right now. No matter what, you need some kind of documentation.
Okay.
And that was the thing. So some people have nothing, but let's just say that we go in and we say, okay, you have paper documentation. That's good, but there's a lot of issues with paper documentation. Where's it located? Is it ergonomic for the operators to go and find it?
Okay, so starting out, just having some form of documentation is where one can start. So as long as you have a form of documentation, and that's where you were going with.
So when we go into different places, there's things we run into and there's things we see. And one of the things that we see that's common is documentation. Mm-hmm. And there's always a better way to do things. And that's what we always want to strive for, is a continuous improvement and doing things better. So if we have paper documentation, that's good, but there's a better way to do things. And we look at the paper documentation and the issues that people may have or customers might have with the paper documentation. One is the creation of it. You use different softwares that may or may not be ideal for doing work instructions. They may give you too many options or too few options. And what format is it? And you have to figure out a standardized format and figure out something that works for you. So you have this on paper and how much time. One of the big things is a time waster. What I like to call non-value added time is what I like to call it. How many things are you wasting time on during the day that you could be doing other things? Paper documentation, if it takes you too long to create or maintain, it's an issue. And that just kind of domino effects there, because if you have paper documentation and it takes too long to create and maintain, there's going to be a lapse in the up-to-date process, right? So your documentation is going to be tough to update. You're not going to update it on time. People are going to look at it and they're going to say, oh, this is an old process. I don't need this, doesn't even apply to me anymore. And they're just going to take the book or whatever, wherever it is, and they're going to set it somewhere and they're not even going to use it because it's out of date. You always have to present the most updated process. You have to have it readily available for everybody. And this also ties into as well to ISO compliance. So some customers are ISO compliant for documentation or health and safety or any other item. And this ties in with that too. You want to have your up-to-date documentation. Your full version control documentation, another thing, full version control. You want to have all these things in place, but it's got to be easy for you and it's got to make your life easier. It can't be a pain to create these processes and it can't be a pain to maintain and update these processes. And that's a big thing that we see when we go into a facility is you have documentation, but it's out of date and it's tough to maintain, it's tough to create, and it's in a spot that's not ideal for the operators. What we like to see is information right there, right in front of the operators. They can access it right in front of them. They don't have to run and find something. And this is where we tie in ergonomics to everything as well. I don't want to have to get up out of my seat, walk, I don't know how far along, 100 feet, 200 feet, 500 feet, down a hallway to a big binder of books and grab the book I need and then walk back to my seat. I'm not going to want to do that, And this is the things you have to fight, or you have to make easier for the operators so that there's more compliance. And if you can do this, there's going to be a big benefit. And documentation is just one of those items, the paper documentation and transferring that over to digital. that's only one item of many that we discuss and we talk about. And I could go on if you want. You let me know if you want
No, no,
more
no. I
questions.
think I think this is a really good point that you're addressing, is to kind of start with a small project, or to start with one aspect of your production line, to start with one area. We're going to fix with that. We're going to do documentation. We're going to start to go digital with that. And then eventually you can continue to kind of go into other outlets or other venues. So no, I think that that's really important. And you kind of led into the second part of my question, which is, what are some of the pain points that you've seen with customers, as well as your own general consensus from having worked in the manufacturing industry, and now that you're kind of on the other end of it, now you're helping customers rather than being a customer itself?
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, let's talk about some of the pain points that you might run into, like the documentation and the solutions for those
Yeah,
different items
exactly.
too,
Yeah,
you
that's
know,
very
things like
important.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you did bring up a very good point that I'd like to kind of reiterate, and that is the going in phases or going in sections, identifying things, right? Because
Mhm.
we talk about pain points or issues or things that you want to improve on. You really have to identify what are those items and how you want to improve them, but where are they as well, right? If I have an assembly department and that's where documentation is not the greatest, and I have some compliance issues or anything like that, that's where I'm going to focus on, is that area to improve it first instead of
Mhm.
my other areas. So that was a very good point. Just to reiterate that, identifying not just the issues you may have or the pain points, but where are they located, is going to be very important. Very, very important. And we have these different concepts that we have here, and one of them is the connected worker versus the disconnected worker,
Mhm.
which ties in different pain points that we've seen. Whereas like a disconnected worker is somebody that, one, maybe the documentation is out of date. We already talked about that.
Yeah.
Two, another thing is what we call tribal knowledge. And this is
Mm.
another pain point that people may see. They may see it or they may not even see it, because this is all information that's in the operator's heads. And the operator thinks that they are the most valuable person ever because they're the one that know the job. And they're the only one that knows the job. But then you have all this information that's in one person's head, and then that person gets sick, or that person retires, or something like that. So you take the tribal knowledge, and then the person retires or goes somewhere else or gets sick, and then you're left sitting there going, "Oh, I don't have anybody that knows how to do this. My one person is
Mhm.
now sick or gone or whatever." And this is also an issue that people a lot of times don't even know they have until it's too late. And this is why we like to bring this up as well, because the tribal knowledge in the operator's heads, the best practice, the most efficient practice, the most efficient process is usually in the operator's heads. And you want to extract that out, get it on paper, get it documented in a digital process in order to show that, and in order to have that. And then once you have that documented, that's again where your continuous improvement comes into play. And you can start enhancing it even further. And you can
Mhm.
ensure that it's the best practice and best process. This is one thing we always bring up when we go to a customer, because sometimes they're not even aware of it, these
Yeah, for
different items.
sure.
Some are, some are not, but it's really a big item. We had, in a facility that I worked out of, we had a operator that worked the drill press, and he was expert at everything in the drill press, and he knew exactly how to do every single job, and like the back of his hand and whatever you want to call it, but then he retired, and we went, holy cow, he knew
Yeah.
everything and now we don't know anything,
Now we don't know
and
anything. Where do we go? How do we
where
start?
do we go? How do we go? And that's one of the things we try to push, is be proactive in items,
Mhm.
right? It's the same thing like a security, it's the same thing like a security discussion. I have a fence around my perimeter
Mhm.
of my building. Maybe there's a few holes in it and I go, whatever, I'll fix it later. And then somebody comes in and they go through the hole in the fence and they steal something or they break a window
Yeah.
or whatever, you know. And then I go, oh, now let's fix the fence. Something happened. It's the same type of idea where you want to be proactive in these cases and not reactive in the sense where that person was retiring. Oh, now let's do something about it, you know. So that's what we try to promote as well.
Yeah, no, and I think you're addressing a lot of the points that a lot of people I think don't even realize. Like you mentioned, you go sometimes to facilities and they're not even aware that, that they don't have that tribal knowledge stored and saved in a document, or they don't have up-to-date documentation. They're not sure where to start. So I think for companies that are just either starting to roll out or that are currently in that process, I think that this will be very, very beneficial for them to kind of realize and to zone in, like you said, let's fix one area rather than the entire pond, so to speak. So
Hmm.
another question that I had is, so we've addressed a little bit of the pain points. What would you say, again, from your experience, would be some of the solutions? How can a software like VKS that is helping customers go digital with their work instructions and their SOPs, how would we offer a solution to some of these issues and some of these pain points?
Yeah, absolutely. And we talked a little bit about the disconnected worker. So the worker that has the documentation that's not up to date, the
Hmm.
documentation that maybe it's separated into different areas, or I can't find it easy, or I don't understand it, I don't comprehend it. So you have
Hmm.
this disconnected worker, and then you have the idea of the concept of the connected
The
worker.
connected worker, yeah.
And the connected worker has all the information they need to do the job. And this is where you can very clearly create a software just like VCAS. You can clearly create standardized processes, instructions, and other items in order to really, really show basically anybody how to do a process or how to do a job. And I always, whenever I go into a facility, I try to look at the existing processes that
Hmm.
customers may have and try and imagine myself building it, or actually go in there and try and build it and see, and then you can convert into a digital format, make things better and enhance things. And then I can show them, hey, this is how I would do things. And then have them try to build it based off of that type of instruction and see what works and what's better. But the connected worker, the solution, a software like VCAS, what that's going to provide you and what's that going to give you is one, it's going to give you peace of mind and ease on the back end of things where personnel are creating and maintaining the instructions,
Hmm.
where you have version control and it's automatically in the system. And these are things you want to look for, right?
Okay,
You
yeah,
want to
for
look
sure.
for automatic version control. You don't want to mess with versioning. If you have an approval process or a review flow, you want that to be automatic too. You want everything that is centrally located and stored. You don't want to be looking and hunting for things. My checklists are in a binder over here, and my work
Hmm.
instructions are in a binder over there. You don't want that. Central location, one source of truth for everything is what you want to look for. So we want the operators to be able to look at the process, fully understand it with pictures, text, and video. We want them to be able to understand that. We want them to be able to collect any data or enter in any information, measurements, serial numbers, quality checklists or control plans, any of that, all in the same place without them
Hmm.
having to run all over the place to do anything.
Yeah.
And then we want the operators to be able to provide feedback. And we want them to be able to send information to the engineers or the creators or whoever to say, I have an improvement idea. This is
Hmm.
what should be done. Or, oh, hey, I have an issue with here's some quality items. I need quality down here or something. You want to have a solution that'll provide you all these different items. And this is where some a software just like VCAS comes into place, because that's going to provide you these solutions. It's going to make your life easier. It's going to save you time. It's going to save you money with, at the very least, with paper. And if you print out in color, you laminate things or whatever, even in paper, it's going to save you a bit of money. And this is what you want. Make your life easier so you have more time and more bandwidth to do other things, to enhance other areas and improve things.
Yeah, no, and thank you so much for kind of explaining that and really showing us what some of the solutions are. And I think one of the main ones that you mentioned is to just have a lot more automation. I'll have a lot more things just automatically appear. So again, you're saving companies time and their energy instead of wasting it on, like you had mentioned earlier, having to go reprint out that binder and make sure that the operator has the most up-to-date version. And what forms do they have to fill in? Where's the inspector? Is the inspector on his way? the operator doesn't have to leave his assembly station to go speak to quality or engineers. He can just do that all right automatically. So I think one of the key takeaways is what you're trying to address is, one, this is me being the environmentalist over here, but one, you're helping to save the planet by removing a lot of paper and not having to print, and being able to be a sustainable company through the internet and through technology. But two, just to have a nice flow and have kind of an automation process put in place. So thank you for all that knowledge. And again, you're our tribal knowledge specialist today.
Thank you.
So again, as I'd mentioned, technology, advancements, all this kind of stuff. What happens, or how would you address the situation when you have older companies or some people who are a little bit apprehensive to technology? As we know, because we work in the technology industry, that is for manufacturers, all of the advancements and the key positive, I guess, outlets that this can provide a company. But sometimes technology might be apprehensive to some, and they might not necessarily have the bandwidth or the capabilities or the knowledge to, slowly start to go towards IoT and smart factories. How can we how would you say VKS and software and other softwares like ours kind of help out in that aspect as well?
Well, you want to look for somebody with a very good support plan, and that's one thing that we do with on-site visits, with training online, with all of our software information that we have for our like manuals and things like that. You want to have somebody that can help guide you through different items, and that's one thing I think we do very well. Like I'm a customer success manager, so I have I don't know how many companies that I work with hand in hand to help train, implement, provide ideas. And it's a lot of times it's just big brainstorming sessions.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you're starting off or whether you're fully established, it's big brainstorming sessions on how to do things better. And it's bouncing ideas off of people. It's me providing information, getting feedback, them providing information, getting feedback, and just going back and forth and finding the best solution. But that is one thing that I absolutely love doing, is working with the customers. And that's one thing you want to look for too, is a company that's going to be able to do that hand in hand with you. Because yes, you could be apprehensive. Yes, you could not know the technology, but you got to give it a chance, because this is where everything is going. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Digital transformation of everything, IoT, like you said, this is where everything's going. So you
Mm-hmm.
got to give it a chance, and you want to have some personnel out there that are going to help you along the way, not just hand you something and say, okay, go ahead. And then you never hear from them again. So, and that's one thing I thoroughly enjoy doing is working with the customers in order to get the best solution we can out to the customers. And we do a very, very good job at that. And the other thing that you might run into is, there's different levels of resistance, right? So
Yes.
you get the, oh well, I'm not really sure about technology on the back end side or the engineering side or the management side, and also the personnel on the shop floor. And the person on the shop floor, maybe they don't, or maybe they're not the best at technology. But that's why you also want to look for a very easy to use and intuitive system, right? Something that is not gonna be, oh, I have to click here and jump on one leg and then I have to do 10 jumping jacks and then my stuff shows up to me. You want to be able to go in, you want to be able to find stuff easily. So you want to look for a solution like that. And another big thing, and this is just a tip, right, is the feedback on the shop floor. A lot of times we go into a place and we find that there's a big disconnect between engineering or the content creators and the shop floor,
Mm-hmm.
where we'll walk out and we'll look at a process and somebody will go, oh wow, that's not how we do that anymore. We haven't done that in
Mm-hmm.
6 months that way. Or just talking to operators on the shop floor is so important and so valuable. We've
Well, yeah,
had,
because yeah.
oh, go ahead.
Well, no, well, just from experience myself, having spoken to and done a bit of project with customers, is they're the ones who are going to be using, this, either whether, VKS or other types of softwares that will be, they will be the ones using them day in and day out. So it is important to get their feedback, as they're the ones who will be referring to it and constantly looking at it and, adding suggestions. So you made a very good point. I didn't mean to interject. I'm very sorry.
No, feel free, go right ahead. I like the back and forth too. I like the conversation and the brainstorming stuff, so that works out good.
Yes, well, see, we also brainstorm
Yeah.
ourselves, so
Well, we have to, right? So that's
yeah. So I guess my one last question, which I know that is a hot topic amongst a lot of customers and potential clients. I get asked this a lot. What is the difference between cloud and server? Well, I know the difference between what a cloud package of a software is as well as a server, but I thought maybe you could spend a little bit of time and just quickly discuss, what are the differences when it comes to picking one? How would a company go about it? Why would a software company offer both instead of just one? So
gotcha. Okay. Well, and that's one thing that we do offer is we have a cloud solution, so it's everything completely online, and we also have a what we like to call an on-premise appliance. Now we call it an appliance because it's a whole bunch of stuff put into like one thing, and all the different components you need to run VKS basically. So we like to call it a appliance, and you have different options or different choices on what you want, and there's definitely benefits to some, and well, there's benefits of both, but people have their choices in what they like to do. Cloud solution, accessible anywhere, and with a solution like ours, you can still filter, you can still narrow down to specific IP addresses or still block people. You can still do that, but it's accessible anywhere, and you can easily get to it. You can easily create, maintain, and it's just accessed right through a web browser. Well, actually, basically, no matter what, with ours, it's accessed through a web browser, right? So easy access is what I'm trying to say. Easy access, access it anywhere, and it's a very good solution for people. We also have the on-premise appliance, and that is more for personnel that want elevated security standards. And this is not to say that the cloud is not secure, because it is. But this is also where we have customers with additional regulations, ITAR,
mhm.
medical, or sometimes you talk to some customers and sometimes they're like, our IT will not do anything cloud. Zero cloud stuff. That's it. At bottom line, we need an on-premise solution. And that's where we say, okay, we provide an on-premise solution as well. So if you need that additional level of security, if you need that blocking everything behind your firewalls, closing everything off from the internet, and having everything behind the lead lined vaults so Superman can't see what you're doing, then you can do that absolutely with the on-premise solution. There is good levels and high levels of security on both, so it's not a security issue. It's just certain customers require additional regulations and additional checks and additional restrictions. The other thing is price and value. You got to compare price and value, and a lot of times, at least for us, I can't say it for everybody out there, but we try to provide a good return on an on-premise solution versus a cloud solution.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for answering those questions. I know sometimes a lot of customers, they aren't necessarily sure. Like you said, sometimes it could be that the company, the IT department requires it to be, installed locally versus on the cloud. So I think it's important too that you have that capability of having the software either on a cloud or on a server. And I guess my last question for you today, sir, and then I'll let you go because I know everyone has been working from home and you have a
Oh,
little new baby as well. Actually, she's
can you
not a
tell I've
baby
been
anymore.
working from home?
No, but no. But my last question that I thought we could just quickly go over is, yes, a company like VKS, our background actually, we stem from a manufacturing background. So a lot of what you'll see down the road, a lot of our software, like I said, was kind of built out of that manufacturing mindset. Now, yes, originally it was built for work instructions, but over time, as Spiro has kind of mentioned, you're providing a visual representation for what your operators or your employees need to do. You're providing them a visual step-by-step, whether that's text, video, or PDFs. So over time, right now, we're not just in work instructions anymore. We're kind of going into maintenance and repair, the maintenance and repair field. We're doing SOPs, we're doing auditing, we're even going into training documentation. So I thought maybe you could just kind of talk a little bit about how versatile VKS and just digital work instructions can be, digitizing your whole process, not just, your work instructions.
No, absolutely. And this is actually one thing I have some experience with too, is being an auditor in the past life and all that, is I've used this software, this VKS software, for a lot of different things. And versatility is the name of the game, because everybody wants something different. Training material, process auditing, work instructions, SOPs, full implementation, and communication with ERPs and other systems. Like, everybody wants something a little bit differently. So versatility is most definitely the name of the game. And I can tell you personally, I've used this for a lot of different things. I've used this for auditing, so just pure data collection. I go through, I do my walkthrough on the shop floor, and I go into the paint department, and I do some environmental safety items to make sure that the paint is being grounded, the paint containers are being grounded, and things like that. And I can document exactly when I inspected this, what the results were. I could send that information to other people if I need to. So that is something that I've personally done. In addition to that, I heard you say preventive maintenance. That's also something that I've personally done with the software, is created preventive maintenance procedures and replacement procedures for like grinding wheels and things like that. So standard processes, not exactly work instructions, but standard processes, and also preventive maintenance, whether it be a daily, whether it be a monthly, a yearly. Well, our facilities, they do a lot of machining out of our facilities, our manufacturing facilities. And that's one thing that I did, was create a lot of different daily maintenance that can be done on some of the bigger machines that we have. So I actually built up some of those items as well. And that's just another thing right there that you can do. So like I said, versatility is the name of the game, whether it be preventive maintenance, whether it be the audits or the data collection, pure inspections, or just how to do something, right? I've made work instructions before, how to use a torque wrench, how to perform a paint inspection, a specific paint inspection. So you could really create these really base SOPs as well, and have them referenced in there, if you need to. So there's a lot of different things you can use it for.
Yeah, and I think what you talked about, exactly, versatility and just finding a solution that works for you and for your needs. One thing that I think you've kind of talked about and we can take away from this conversation is what might work for some companies might not work for other ones, and everybody has their own projects, their own pain points, their own issues that they'd like to address. But at the end of the day, to start with a small project and to kind of just make sure that you have your documentation in place and just kind of to start from there. So
Absolutely.
I would like to thank you very, very much for having come on today's podcast. Your knowledge and education is always welcome, and I really hope that a lot of companies can take away even a fraction, something just that might have clicked for them from today's conversation. And I hope that we'll have another one with you soon. Maybe next time you'll bring your little daughter in and she can wave or something like that. But
Oh, absolutely. We could do that next time. Thank you
exactly,
very
yeah.
much for having me. Visual knowledge share, it's even in our name, right? Sharing all the information. So
Exactly. So everyone, I would like to say thank you again for tuning in. We will have another podcast by February, so stay tuned. And if there's any more information that you guys would like to see, whether some of our use cases or even book a demo, it might end up being with myself or Spiro. You can always visit our website at www.vksapp.com. And thank you so much, and everybody have a great start to 2021. Bye-bye.